"We're using your mother-in-law's savings for this trip," Carol announced, her tone oddly casual. "It'll eventually become Tyler's inheritance anyway, so it's fine, right?" She added, as if to justify their actions. "My brother and his wife had rushed over immediately after my mother passed away. Not to offer condolences, but to seize her bank book and withdraw her savings before I could even submit her death certificate to the government office. 'You used Mom's money, huh?' I managed to ask, trying to suppress my anger." Carol's response was shockingly nonchalant. "Yeah, we spent about $10,000 on the trip." "Oh well, the audacity of my brother and his wife conspiring to use my mother's money without permission made me furious for a moment. But then I remembered something these people didn't know." "I couldn't help but laugh," I said, barely holding back my laughter. Carol looked puzzled by my sudden outburst. "What's wrong with you?" "Did the shock of us using the money make you go crazy?" Of course, I wasn't going crazy. I just couldn't help but laugh when I'd imagined the surprised faces of my brother and his wife when they found out the truth and faced their miserable fate. Their carefree days were probably numbered. I and Samantha, a very ordinary office worker raised by kind parents. My parents were always good-natured, constantly thinking about what they could do for others. Their kindness sometimes led them to being deceived or burdened with unfair responsibilities, but I admired them nonetheless. However, my brother Tyler had a completely different personality. He was always calculating what was beneficial for him and acted accordingly. To him, our parents, who would go out of their way to help others, were incomprehensible. As Tyler grew up, his rebellion against our parents intensified. In high school, he began to demand more money from them, saying, "If you can afford to do something for others, you can give me more allowance." Despite accepting Tyler's personality, our parents never changed their beliefs. Their unwavering character only frustrated him more. Tyler's negative feelings towards our parents only grew stronger in college. Taking advantage of the fact that our parents paid for his tuition, Tyler spent his college days partying and eventually failing a year, causing them trouble. Parents should naturally devote themselves to their children, right? Or can you only be kind to others, but not your own family? Tyler would argue, justifying his selfish behavior. After graduating college, Tyler moved out and started living on his own. Although he left home without notice, he complained that living a decent life on his first paycheck seemed impossible for him. He kept returning to our parents' house for living expenses before heading back to his own place. Concerned about him, our parents kept giving him money whenever he asked. When I finally got a job, I decided to support our parents financially in place of Tyler. "Samantha, it's your hard-earned money, so you can use it however you like," my parents said. Despite their words, I continued to give them money, treating it as their grocery expenses. This routine continued for several years. Tyler, who only showed up to ask for money, unexpectedly invited me and our parents to a restaurant to talk. When we arrived, a beautiful woman was sitting next to Tyler. "Dad, Mom, Samantha, let me introduce you." "This is my girlfriend, Carol," Tyler said, and Carol nodded politely. "I've decided to marry Carol. We'll be busy preparing for our wedding and our new life together, but I hope you'll support us," Tyler said. I initially thought Tyler meant support in terms of caring for Carol, but it became clear that his idea of support was entirely different. He asked our parents to cover the expenses for his wedding and their new home. Knowing our parents' inability to refuse help, Tyler skillfully persuaded them to foot the bill for everything. Even after the wedding and the purchase of their new home, he continued to rely on them for money. Carol, his wife, grew accustomed to this lifestyle and began living more extravagantly. However, this lavish lifestyle was short-lived. Our father's health deteriorated, and he was hospitalized. Even with insurance, hospital stays are expensive. To ensure our retired parents wouldn't struggle financially, Tyler had to reconsider his reliance on them. I proposed to my brother that we both shoulder the burden of the hospital bills. You've been living at home and receiving assistance from Mom and Dad, and you've had a fair share of financial support from them too, right? This is the time for us to step up and help them. I reasoned, but my brother didn't see it that way. Why should I? He retorted. It's Dad's fault for not taking care of his health. He neglected himself while always helping others. That's his responsibility. Following that conversation, my brother stopped visiting our parents' house altogether. Neither he nor Carol, his wife, made a single visit to our father while he was in the hospital. It was my mother and I who desperately took care of him until he passed away. Even when we informed them of our father's death, they didn't offer any assistance with the funeral arrangements. They briefly showed up at the funeral, but failed to greet our relatives properly before leaving. Our relatives looked at them with disdain, but they seemed indifferent. My mother, who had bravely taken on the role of chief mourner during the funeral, began to lose her energy after the funeral, clearly affected by the loss of my father. Tyler M. has been feeling down lately. She wants to see you. Can you visit her at home sometime? I asked my brother. After a brief pause, he responded, By the way, what happened to Dad's inheritance? It all went to Mom. It seems they had decided that's what they would do when Dad was still alive. I informed him, realizing the gravity of the situation. I felt a foreboding sense of dread and immediately cautioned my brother. Mom has control of the money now, right? He inquired. Yes, but listen carefully, I urged, sensing his intentions. Mom is emotionally vulnerable right now. Don't even think about taking advantage of her financially, okay? I need you to come and support her. That's what's important. What's the point of going if I can't get any money out of it? It's not worth my time, he retorted dismissively. Despite my insistence that we wouldn't be providing him with any financial assistance, my brother never set foot in our parents' house again. Then, just 6 months after our father's passing, our mother also succumbed. Despite her weakened state, my brother showed no concern upon learning of her death. He hurried back to our parents' house. I hoped he would fulfill his duties as the eldest son during the funeral, but to my dismay, he and his wife vanished as soon as it began. Frantically, I tried calling his cell phone, but it went straight to voicemail. In the end, I assumed the role of chief mourner in his absence, managing to navigate through the funeral proceedings alone. Several days later, I finally managed to get in touch with my brother. Samantha, this is Carol, came the voice on the other end. Where's Tyler? I asked anxiously. He's busy with boarding procedures and can't come to the phone, Carol replied casually. Boarding procedures? Where are you? We're at JFK Airport. We're leaving the United States in a few hours, Carol said. My heart sank as I processed the revelation. You're leaving the United States and going abroad. Yes, we're going on an international trip, Carol confirmed, devoid of any hint of remorse or regret. I was taken aback by my brother and his wife's swift decision to embark on an overseas trip immediately after our mother's passing. However, what Carol uttered next left me utterly astounded. We're really grateful to our mother-in-law, you know. Thanks to her, we're able to enjoy this luxurious trip abroad, Carol remarked, her tone laced with casualness. Puzzled, I questioned, What do you mean by that? We used our mother-in-law's savings for this trip. After all, it was going to be Tyler's inheritance anyway, so why not use Mom's savings? Carol explained nonchalantly. How did you manage to get that money? I inquired, my anger simmering beneath the surface. We borrowed her bankbook and seal when we visited her house. We knew we wouldn't be able to withdraw money once the death certificate was submitted, So we hurried. Carol confessed, revealing the true reason behind their rush to her mom's house after her demise. So you used Mom's money, I stated, trying to contain my frustration. Carol's response was surprisingly blaze. Yes, we've already spent $10,000 on trip expenses. It's a good thing Tyler's plan worked out. Initially, I was furious at the audacity of my brother and his wife for dipping into our mom's savings without permission. But then a realization struck me. They didn't know. I couldn't help but chuckle inwardly. Serves you right, I thought to myself. Perplexed by my sudden outburst of laughter, Carol questioned, "What's wrong with you? Did the shock of us using the money make you lose your mind? Tyler is the eldest son, so it's natural for him to inherit more, right?" I responded between laughs. "Sure, that's fine. I'll give up my inheritance so Tyler can inherit everything. That was your plan all along, wasn't it?" Upon hearing this, Carol's demeanor shifted to one of delight. "Oh my, you're quite understanding, huh? By the way, please make sure to arrange for all of Mama's mail to be sent to your house from now on. Don't worry, it's a simple task. I'll let Tyler know," she concluded cheerfully before hanging up the phone. I didn't hear from my brother again until they returned from their trip. "Samantha, Carol told me you're giving up your inheritance," my brother stated as soon as he called. "Yes, but more importantly, did you handle the mail forwarding from Mom's mail?" I asked. "Yeah, I took care of it as soon as we got back," he replied. "But you know you're not going to change your mind later, are you? You won't say you should have inherited after all?" I inquired. "Of course not. I still believe my decision was the right one," he affirmed confidently. "Well, it's only right that I, the eldest son, inherit everything," he added with a chuckle before ending the call. However, a few weeks later, he called again, sounding panicked. "There's a collection notice addressed to Mom in her mail." "What's this about?" he asked anxiously. "Oh, is it from the bank?" I speculated our parents always wanted to help people in need and would accept any requests, including financial ones. As we delved into the matter, it became apparent that our parents had accumulated substantial debt, outweighing their savings, making inheritance a risky proposition that could potentially leave them in a dire financial situation. "Did you know about this?" my brother accused, his voice rising. "You knew Mom had debt, right? Why didn't you say anything?" "There was no point. What you're saying is meaningless," I retorted. "If I had known, I would have given up the inheritance too." "That's impossible," he exclaimed. "Why the hell is it impossible, Tyler? You took money from Mom's bank account to go on vacation, didn't you?" I countered. "So what? What does that have to do with giving up the inheritance?" He shot back. "It's a big deal. What you did is considered a tacit acceptance of the inheritance," I explained. "It's a legal concept. Let me break it down for you so you can understand." I explained to my brother that by withdrawing money from our deceased family member's account for his own use before the inheritance process, it was legally seen as a tacit acceptance of the inheritance. "I have never heard of such a thing," he rebutted. "Of course not," I replied. "Not many people would even consider using a deceased family member's savings for their own selfish desires, so it doesn't come up in conversation. You're just making stuff up because you want the inheritance for yourself. I have a lawyer friend, you know. They'll find out if you're lying," my brother threatened before abruptly ending the call. Later he called back, but this time his bravado was replaced by a sense of resignation. "Samantha, you were right. I can't give up the inheritance now," he admitted. It seemed his lawyer friend had given him the same answer I did. Finally understanding the gravity of the situation, my brother realized that he had inherited not just assets, but also the debt our parents had accrued. Despite his protests, it became clear that he was partially responsible for the financial mess, having frequently begged our parents for money without knowing the extent of their debt. Desperate to find a way out of his predicament, my brother attempted to persuade me. "Hey, Samantha, our parents are gone, and it's just us siblings now. Isn't this the time to join forces?" He proposed. "What do you mean by join forces?" I questioned, wary of his intentions. "I think we should work together to pay back our parents' debt. Now's the time to show our filial piety," my brother proposed, his tone almost pleading. I sighed heavily at his selfish suggestion, which felt like too little too late. "What are you talking about?" "When Dad was in the hospital, I suggested we should help our parents together, but you pushed me away," I reminded him. "I was busy at the time," he defended himself. "Regardless of how busy you were, you didn't visit Dad in the hospital even once, and you didn't support our grieving mother afterward. I don't want to hear the words filial piety from someone like you ever again," I retorted, feeling a surge of frustration. With nothing left to say, I left my brother hanging. "Have you ever done anything for someone else, Tyler? I know you took advantage of our kind parents, but there's no one who will help someone who can't do anything for others, even if they're family. But if you don't help me, Carol and I can't pay back the debt by ourselves. Are you going to abandon your brother? We're family," he pleaded desperately. "When Dad was in the hospital, you abandoned him, saying it was his own fault for not managing his health. This time, using Mom's savings is your own fault," I countered, feeling the weight of disappointment settling between us. "I regret that, okay? I've changed," my brother's voice pleaded through the phone. "Have you? I still think you're just desperate to reduce your own debt. And even if you changed, the person you should apologize to is no longer in this world." "It's too late," I interjected firmly, cutting him off before hanging up the phone. I had no intention of helping him after all the trouble he had caused our parents throughout the years. Burdened with debt and unable to live the carefree life they once had, Tyler and Carol's relationship quickly turned sour. However, living separately would only incur more expenses. Unable to afford even the moving expenses, they had no choice but to continue their married life together, bickering all the while. At first, they tried to save money and pay off the debt little by little from their salaries, but it didn't last long. Neither Tyler nor Carol could forget their luxurious lifestyle, and they would secretly spend money behind each other's backs, causing their debt to never decrease. As a result, they blamed each other for their inability to reduce the debt further, damaging their relationship. Their marriage continued to crumble in this vicious cycle. On the other hand, I finally found the time to properly mourn our parents. I remembered how, during our parents' funeral, countless attendees tearfully expressed their gratitude for the help our parents had provided them when they were in need. Realizing how many people our parents had helped made me feel even more proud of them. It was ironic that my brother, who had never shown any gratitude and had always caused trouble for our parents, ended up shouldering the debt that resulted from their acts of kindness. Even though they were drowning in debt, I still admired our parents for never giving up on helping others. With these thoughts in mind, I continued to pay my respects to our parents at the family altar every day.